So our first question comes from John. John says, what do you think about doing like an avant-garde line in order to raise brand awareness for the ready-to-wear line? Hey Matthew, how are you? So this question is a little tricky. I think it really depends on your budget and your time. So doing two lines is definitely going to be costly, especially if you're doing an avant-garde line. That's definitely going to cost a lot more. Hey Lana Dean, how are you? Also keep in mind, you're now targeting two completely different target customers, and that's pretty much double the work and double the time to do. So if you have a lot of time and your budget is really high, then I would say, yeah, sure, you could probably go for it. But otherwise, I really wouldn't recommend it. It's definitely going to be a lot harder for you. And like I said, it's like doing two businesses in one. So it's definitely going to cost a lot more and be a lot more time consuming. Some designers have done it. It can be successful, but it really depends where you want to be in the market. So I would suggest picking one to start with, really going for that. And then later on, if you do get a really good following, maybe we think about doing the second one, okay? Hey Luma, how are you? Nice to see you on. So our second question comes from Jennifer. Jennifer wants to know, should I be selling to Saks, Nordstrom, and Bloomies, etc.? So this is a question I get a lot of times. I personally don't recommend starting out as a small startup designer pitching to big box retailers. And one of the reasons is because you will get creamed in chargebacks. So all of these big box retailers, Bloomingdale's, Macy's, Lord & Taylor, Saks, Bergdorf's, all of them, they know you're desperate to get into their store. And so they have vendor compliance manuals that are about this thick. They're like 300 pages long. And if you do even one thing wrong, like put the label of your garments on the wrong side of the box when you're shipping it to them, they will charge you back. If you don't put the right number of items inside the box, they will charge you back. If your stuff doesn't sell, they will charge you back. They will pretty much figure out a way to charge you back for everything. So you could literally have a $200,000 order from Macy's and get $300,000 in chargebacks, and you will be out of business. And I've seen it happen, and it's a nightmare. So in the beginning, you really don't want the headache. It's not worth it. I know it looks great to say I was in Macy's or I was in Nordstrom or I'm in Bloomies, but it's not worth the headache, and you will literally go out of business if they charge you back way too much, okay? Hey Yana, how are you? So I don't recommend it, okay? I've seen businesses go out of business this way. Start off with the small boutiques, start out with doing e-commerce. You know, e-commerce is the way to go. Everyone's doing direct to consumer. So you have to do the work to really drive the traffic there, but it's worth it in the end because then you own that traffic, okay? And you're not reliant on people like Macy's. But that's a great question. Okay, question number 3 comes from Melissa. She wanted to know, what's more important when you're starting a line, the product or the niche or target customer? And this is an interesting question. So I'm a designer at heart, and I've always been one to say it's all about the product. The product, the product, the product. The product has to be amazing. You have to be different. You have to stand out from everyone else. And that's true in some cases, but lately my view has actually started to shift. So have you guys heard of this new company called Frill Clothing? Well, they're not brand new, but I saw them on Shark Tank. They're doing very, very well. And they're basically making these cute little dresses and skirts that literally are nothing new. It's not anything different. It's not a new product. It's stuff that's been out in the market forever. I've probably designed 50 different versions of these dresses and skirts, but they're targeting a very specific niche and very specific target customer. They're targeting sorority girls. They tapped into a market that was not being served, and they realized a need and a void in the market, and so they decided to fill that market. And so they literally realized that all these sororities, and forgive me, I don't know because I wasn't in a sorority, but apparently when you're in a sorority, you have to wear the same colors and you have to dress alike, or you have these events that you have to go to and so on and so forth, and everybody has to kind of look the same. And so they tapped into this market that was literally untapped, and they said, okay, well, we'll offer you these dresses and these skirts, and you can pick your colors, and we'll guarantee that no other sorority will have it, so you don't have to worry about being the same as anybody else and that sort of thing. And they literally blew up, and they just got a deal on Shark Tank. They scored 2 of the sharks, which is amazing, and they're doing really, really well. And then they even went one step further, And they said, okay, well, what happens when these sorority girls, yeah, we have them for 4 years while they're in college, but what happens after they graduate college? How can we still get this customer? And so they decided, oh, well, this girl's gonna be going to weddings and she might be a bridesmaid. So they decided to tap in the bridesmaid market. And so in that case, they kind of took the same silhouettes, same styles that they were doing for the sororities, but they just twisted it and started to market it towards bridesmaids and kind of created this whole casual bridesmaid look, which really isn't being done. And so it's kind of quite interesting. I definitely suggest you check it out because they literally had a product that was not new in any single way, shape, or form, but targeted a new customer and was very successful, and then used that same product to target another different customer in a new way. So bridesmaids were never targeted in the sense of a casual kind of dress before. And so honestly, it was brilliant. I don't personally like the product. I think it's very cheap and not very creative, but it doesn't matter because they've tapped into a market. So I think it depends. It's not always about the product, and I hate saying that because I am a designer at heart and I love design and I love construction and I'm really big on quality. But if you can tap into a market that's untapped, you will literally be golden. So I hope that answers your question, Melissa. Okay, question number 4. And don't forget, guys, as we're going along, definitely type in your questions because if I have time at the end, I'll answer all of your questions, okay? Question number 4 comes from Nadia. She wanted to know, does the development process go faster when you're working with a vertical factory? And the answer is not necessarily. Yes, it's nice to have a vertical factory that's doing everything for you, right? And let me explain what vertical factory means. So vertical factory basically means that the factory is capable of sourcing everything in-house and doing everything in-house from you, from sourcing your fabric, sourcing your trims, possibly even providing your labels, your carry labels, your size labels, hang tags, all the way through to making your garments, packaging your garments, shipping your garments, literally the whole kit and caboodle they're able to do. So that's what a vertical factory is. And it doesn't always go faster working with a vertical factory. There's still a lot of time that needs to be put into things like fabric sourcing and things like sample development. And that doesn't really matter if it's a vertical factory or not. It's still something, it's still part of the puzzle that needs to be done, and it can still take a really, really long time. So, you know, it's not really an advantage to go with a vertical factory to save yourself time. It is an advantage, obviously, to kind of have everything under one roof and not have to go to separate vendors and deal with separate people. But you also might not get the best quality hang tags or the best quality labels because you're trying to do everything in-house, or maybe they can't find the fabric that you're looking for and you have to go elsewhere for the fabric. So there's advantages and disadvantages to using vertical factories, but I would say it's not an advantage as far as time. You're not really gonna save that much time. Hey Star, how are you? Hi Daniela, nice to see you on. So hope that answers your question, Nadia. Okay, our last question. So I hope you guys have some questions for me at the end here because this is the last one I have. Kevin wants to know, how do I know how much money is needed to start my line? So I must get this question pretty much every single day. I talk to so many startup designers and they always want to know, how much do I actually need to get started? So this really depends on a couple of things. For one, your budget, okay? So first thing I do when I work with a lot of my clients is have them fill out a questionnaire. On that questionnaire, we'll go over what your budget is to get started. Then we'll determine a strategy based on your budget. So I never like to give people a hard rule, like you have to have this amount. I've definitely worked with designers who have only $5,000 to start, and I've worked with designers who have $100,000 to start. Obviously, the more money you have, the better, but you don't necessarily need to have that amount of money. But in order for me to come up with a strategy for you, specific to you and your budget, we'll need to know what that budget is, okay? Number 2, it depends on your background. So if you have fashion background or you have a business background or both, that's definitely gonna help you a lot and be a lot easier for you. If you don't have that kind of background, you're gonna need to hire consultants and coaches like me to help you learn that stuff, and that's definitely gonna cost more. So that's definitely gonna affect your budget. Number 3, the type of line that you're doing. So both the category and the market segment is definitely going to affect your budget. If you were doing handbags and shoes, that's definitely gonna cost a lot more than doing apparel. If you're doing direct to garment printing on t-shirts and you're just buying blanks, that's not gonna cost that much as doing your own t-shirt from scratch, okay? So it kind of depends on what it is specifically that you're doing, and then also the price point. If you're going to sell really high-end couture garments, evening wear, that type of thing, it's going to cost you a lot more to make your samples because the fabric's gonna cost you more and the labor's gonna cost you more, and you're gonna have beading and sequins and all of this other stuff involved that is definitely gonna cost you a lot more money. So for instance, when I designed my own wedding gown when I got married, it literally cost me $3,000 to make that gown after I purchased all the fabric, after I paid for the pattern, the sample, a fitting, redoing the sample a little bit, all of the hand beading that I paid for, and all of the labor and construction. It cost me $3,000. So if I was to retail that gown, I would have to sell it for at least $12,000. So that right there kind of gives you an idea of how much it can cost to do a couture fashion line. Okay, number 4, it depends on your channel of distribution. So if you are planning to do your own brick and mortar store, that's gonna cost a lot more, obviously, than if you're gonna sell online, right? That just makes sense. Also, if you're selling online, whether you're going to actually pay for your production up front and then have inventory and sell off of your inventory, or if you're gonna go the route of pre-selling your line and trying to fund the production that way, that's also going to affect your budget, because if you pre-sell the line, you'll get a lot of money ahead of time, which I do recommend. Tip, jot that down. And that's gonna help you save a lot of money and not have to put so much out in the beginning. And then last but not least, the timing. If you're under a strict deadline, it's definitely going to cost you more, okay? Nobody likes to be rushed in this industry. Everyone's under a timeline, everyone's stressed out. So if you're gonna be rushing people, they're gonna charge you more because they hate to be rushed. So that's definitely gonna cost you more. So there's a lot of things that go into how much it costs to start a fashion line. Okay, we have a question from Matthew. Is it better to split the range of products to different factories or make the whole range at the same place? That really depends on your factory and what they're capable of doing. If your factory is really good at doing all of the types of products that you're offering in your line, great. If they're not, you might have to go elsewhere. Like if you're doing really tailored suit jackets and then you're doing leggings, those might be 2 completely different factories because they're 2 totally different types of garments. And usually the type of people that are good at leggings are not quite good at jackets. So you definitely want to kind of play it by ear and depend and see how your factory is and whether they're good at certain things or not. Also, I don't always like to have all my eggs in one basket. So your factory might get really busy. You might not be able to get your production as fast. So it's good to always have a backup factory. So I like to have at least 2 factories just in case, because you never want to solely rely on one factory. But that's a great question, Matthew. Okay, Lanadine, when showing your line at a fashion show, for example, a designer is showcasing her spring-summer collection, are the designs mass-produced before the fashion show or after the fashion show based on the designs buyers love, or does the designer produce one in each style or just samples? Okay, so typically when you see these fashion shows at New York Fashion Week, those are just samples. They're only producing one garment to show on the runway. Then after the fashion show, they get feedback from the buyers. Buyers will start to tell them, we love this, we don't like this, we think we're gonna place an order for this. Hopefully they do place orders, and then as the orders come in, that's when they'll know exactly what they're going to produce. So typically speaking, the stuff you see walk down a runway, 90% of it is not produced. It's all for show. It's all for fun. It's all for the event. It's all just to make a big splash. It's not actually what gets sold at the end of the day in the stores. So that's typically what happens. However, there's a lot of this whole see now, buy now stuff going on. A lot of the designers are trying to show the collection and offer it at the exact same time to kind of prevent copycats from going on. And so in that case, it's the opposite. They are actually producing the entire line, or at least what they think is going to sell, ahead of time, and then literally offering it directly after the show. So I hope that answered your question, Lanadine. You guys have great questions. Okay, we have a little bit of time. Daniela wants to know, what season do you think performs better, spring, summer, or fall, winter? Spring, summer always performs better, typically speaking. Now, if you're doing outerwear, definitely not spring, summer, you're gonna wanna do fall, winter. But for the majority of the other type of products, especially if you're doing dresses, spring, summer is definitely by far the highest season. Because think about it, do you really want to buy new cute clothes when it's 30 degrees below outside? Like, no, you're bundling up like crazy to stay warm and you really don't care about what you look like. But as soon as spring hits, you are all about going shopping, buying stuff, because now you're going to be seen all over the streets or wherever you're going, and you can wear whatever you want because the weather is nice. So spring, summer definitely by far is the better season. Okay, do customers seem to buy more in one season or the other? Yes, going on your first question, yes, they definitely buy more in spring, summer. Unless, of course, you're doing outerwear, like I said. Okay, hey Jeremy, how are you? Nice to see you on. All right, you guys have some great questions. We have a few more minutes. Any other questions? Definitely feel free to type them in. This is your time, guys. I am giving you this time for free. People pay me a very premium price for my time to ask me questions, and this is your half hour every single week to ask questions, to get free information, and to get help in your businesses. So definitely start taking advantage of this. You can always email me your questions, or rather put them on Facebook with the hashtag AskFAW, Ask Fashion Angel Warrior, and I will answer them on the next Q&A. We do at least one Q&A a month, if not two. Okay, cool, awesome. Are you guys loving this information? Give me your hearts, give me your thumbs up. I wanna know if this is helpful, if this is helping you. Don't forget to share this video so that all of your fabulous fashion friends can take advantage of this information as well. Yay, awesome, I love the thumbs up, thanks guys. So good, and the hearts. So fun. So who was at the City Store show today? I saw a couple of you. Matthew, I know you were there. We are, I should say I am exhausted. Thank God I had some assistants helping me, but I am definitely exhausted. I did trade shows all last week and this week. It was a little crazy. Okay. Do we leave samples of fabrics to the buyers when we sell? Yes, sometimes they'll ask you for swatch cards. And if they're thinking about buying something, they might want to take it and keep it with them, because keep in mind, like, they have a whole trend and a whole story they're trying to create in their store. And if you're doing like one cobalt blue and they want to match it with somebody else's cobalt blue, they might need that swatch to take with them to then go match with whatever else they already purchased to see if it actually goes, and that will determine whether they actually purchase it or not. So sometimes they will ask to take your swatches with them. So it's good to have multiple swatch cards kind of printed out or made up so that you can give them out. And that's only going to help your chances of selling, because the more information you can give a buyer that she needs in order to make a purchase, the more likely she's actually going to make a purchase. Great question. Do you recommend multiple platforms to sell products? I know we talked about Shopify, but what do you think do you think also Amazon makes sense? Amazon is becoming big, guys. I mean, they're literally taking over. They bought Whole Foods. They're doing all kinds of stuff with AI and virtual reality stuff now. They are literally taking over. So I don't think it's a bad idea to try to sell on Amazon. I think it's a great idea. You have to just look at what they charge. If they're taking a percentage or they're charging you a monthly fee. I'm not totally 100% clear on all of that. I know they're obviously charging you something. And you have to see if it's worth it for you. But I think definitely for exposure, it's a good way to go. What are other good platforms that won't charge a third-party high fee? They all charge a third-party fee. Etsy, everybody charges the third-party fee because that's how they make their money. I mean, these websites, it costs a lot of money to keep these websites going, guys. It's not cheap, okay? And to build the website to begin with, to be able to house all of you as designers and all that sort of stuff, it is not cheap. You can easily spend $250,000 to build a really good website. So they need to make that money back, and they're making it back with fees. And the fees are high because they're doing a lot of the marketing for you, and hopefully they're doing good marketing and it's bringing you traffic and bringing you customers. Otherwise, it's not worth it for you. So definitely you want to check out the website. You want to see what brands are selling on there. If it looks like something that's in your similar target market, target customer, ask them for information. How many visitors do they get to the website? What's the demographics? Is it mostly women or men? What's the age range? Ask them for information. They have so much analytics on their websites, and you can easily get that information from them. So you want to find out all that stuff before you commit to doing anything. And if you can, try to interview one of the other designers and say, hey, how long have you been on the site? How's it going for you? I've been thinking about selling on this website. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? What do you like? What do you don't like? Interview them. Some of them might turn you down, but I'm sure there's one or two that will literally give you at least an email response back. Hi, Lindsay Grace. How are you? All right, guys, you were asking some good questions. We have a few more minutes. Any more questions about your fashion business, about sales, about social media, about development, working with manufacturers, production? We can help you with all of these things. So let me know. All right, well, while you're thinking of questions, and I know there's a little bit of a delay with the internet, I want to talk about our amazing free master course that's coming up tomorrow, free masterclass webinar, I should say, that's coming up tomorrow, called The Top 14 Mistakes Designers Make and How to Avoid Them. Guys, you definitely want to sign up for this webinar if you're not already in it. We literally give you these 14 mistakes that literally could cost you your business. I've seen designers do some of them and totally fail. So you definitely don't want to miss out on this webinar. I posted a link in my bio on Instagram. There's also a link on Facebook in this Facebook Live. So definitely sign up. There's 3 different times. It is filling up super fast. So don't wait. Definitely sign up tonight so you don't miss out on it. Hi, Smiles and Faith. How are you? Nice to see you on. All right, guys. So if there's no more questions, it sounds weird and squeaky. I'm not sure why. Try following us on Facebook. If you go to the Fearless Fashionpreneur group, you can watch all of the Facebook Lives. Oh, we're getting some more questions. Okay. I'm getting a Surface Pro to sketch. Any programs you recommend? I forget what they're called. Sketch Pro or something. I use a couple of them. Email me, Daniela, and I'll let you know, or I'll type them in the comments when I look. We are all exhausted. Okay, great. Lana Dean, should each collection a designer create have a name? You don't have to have a name. Some designers like to do that. That's just a personal preference. You could call this the Moroccan collection if you wanted to, but really it's all about the season. Spring, summer 18, fall, winter 18, so on and so forth. So that's really what it's all about. All right, guys. Sorry on Instagram if you can't hear me for some reason, but you need to hop on over to Facebook because that's where the party really is. Okay. Love you all. Have a good night. Oh, I forgot to mention the announcements. So next week, we are going to do a topic about distribution channels. What's the safest? What is the riskiest ones? How much is it going to cost? And how much time is involved in each one? So definitely tune in next week for the topic of distribution channels. That's going to be amazing. And we're also doing another tour. Our last tour sold out really super fast. This one is already selling out, so if you are interested in taking a tour of the Garment District in New York City, sign up. The next one is March 23rd. It is already 50% sold out. There's only 4 spots left. So definitely sign up for that. You can go to our website under the events section and register. All right, guys, I love you. Have a great night. Talk to you later.